What's up, everybody?
I couldn't hear the cool intro.
Oh, I had the volume down. That's learning curves, my friend. Learning curves. How you doing?
No, play it again. That's the only reason I come on the show is to listen to that.
Welcome, everybody. We have some people in the chat. Oh, hold on a second. And then I'm repeating myself. And then just so everybody knows, we are also live on our dedicated webpage, which is scarif.live. I'm sorry, scariflive.onestream.live.
Skywalker Academy says there's no music. Yeah, you got to play it again. Got to go again.
There. Really?
Yeah, you got to go again.
That blows.
That's the only reason anybody comes to this.
That's true. All right. Let's push a couple buttons. Let's try it again.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
See, you had subverted their expectations the first time.
I sure did.
Scarif trap music is where it's at.
That's right. That's right.
And that Scarif trap.
You can dance to it. It's wonderful. Thank you guys for noticing that, and thank you for stopping by this Saturday evening here at Scarif Live. Scarif Live. What's up, Brad?
Man, well, I mean, we got people ripping bongs while they're watching us, so this must be a pretty good show.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, they're doing what?
Star Wars Steve ripped a bong.
Oh,
ready to talk some Skelly Crew.
Yeah, right.
Bong can you say that on YouTube? Ready? I don't know if you can.
I don't know. Yeah. If you can say things like multi-lobed beings watching us, then I'm sure you can say.
It's still creepy.
It's still creepy. I want to thank everybody. Last week we had a good show. We had some good numbers. Thank you for stopping by live, and we appreciate you folks that watch us after the fact. We're going to be talking about episode 3 of Skeleton Crew, the new Star Wars Disney Plus series. And but before that, I want to warm up the discussion. We had a couple of different topics that people were tagging us in, and I think I wanted to ask you one question specifically from Loki Jarson. All week I've been asking about Star Wars and the direction of Star Wars, and he asks, one of his questions anyway, is the future of Star Wars just makeup and deep fakes? And I don't know if he's I think he's referring to because I think last week I was all up and super excited about that Star Trek thing that we were talking about a while ago, and how Kirk came back, Spock came back. We had some interesting discussions.
Like trying to bring Luke Skywalker back like they did with the Mandalorian?
Yeah, but probably maybe a little better. If you have not seen that Unification Star Trek show, I think it's worth a watch just to at least experience that level of, what do they call it? Digital prosthetics.
That's a real show?
No, it's a movie that the special effects company did with the help of Paramount Pictures and William Shatner and the Leonard Nimoy family, along with the Roddenberry Foundation. And I know this is a Star Wars podcast. I'm sorry for kicking the Star Trek discussion up, but yeah, it's fascinating. And our boy, actor that plays Darth Maul.
Sam Witwer.
Yeah, he plays Kirk, and phenomenal job. And I think they have some behind the scenes footage of him standing in front of the camera. The camera does the digital prosthetics in real time, so he's moving his face, and it's just an amazing experience to watch.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Like, I mean, that dude puts so much passion into everything he does.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did you
And
hear how did you watch that video? How he got the job for the Force Unleashed video game?
you know what? I think I've heard the story, but remind
Where,
us.
yeah, so he was they were doing takes, and they were the scene he was auditioning for was was when they were he was meditating, and they kept doing it over and over again, and every time he was doing it, he looked angry, and he had his fist clenched, and the casting director is like, dude, are you okay? Like, you can calm down now. Like, you're supposed to be meditating. He's like, this guy's a Sith. He doesn't know how to meditate. He's never
Oh,
been
that's
taught
right.
how to meditate. And he said in the cast, they're like, well, he's our guy, because
Yeah.
he understood how the
Totally
Sith
understood.
operated. I'm like, and that's
Yeah.
amazing.
You know, it's funny. We've had our dealings with Sam Witwer. He has responded to some of the stuff that we have posted in the past, but I think he is definitely one of those guys that really understands not only the craft of what he does, the acting, but the lore of Star Wars. And I think that's a perfect example. He has an interview in this Star Trek behind the scenes thing where he talks about the digital manipulation of actors, and obviously the actors that have long gone. And he says something very interesting, obviously being an actor himself, on behalf of a lot of the actors. And then obviously, just recently we had the actors strike. And I think one of the things that a lot of actors are obviously, worried about is studios taking their likeness and then just making movies willy-nilly in the future without their consent. But I think I'll drop the link of that interview. He said something very interesting regarding the ability to, like, if you're an actor, go into the studio and have your face scanned, maybe once a year, almost like a regular checkup, and have those files archived. And whenever a studio does want to utilize a character that you played in the past, they would pay the actor the fee to be able to use the imagery, and the actor would still retain the rights and the copyright to their own face, which I thought was marvelous. I think it was a great idea. I think it's a good solution maybe to the problem of, what do you do when you want to cast a Peter Cushing in a Rogue One type thing. But I think that was kind of fascinating to hear.
Yeah. So, going back to the original question, I would say I hope not. If, like, I don't want to see the original characters with the writers that they have now. I don't want to see that treatment to the characters that we love. I don't want to see those words in Leia's mouth or in Luke's or Han's mouth. No, I prefer not.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I know we've had our problems with movies like Solo, where other actors take the role of our beloved characters, as you mentioned. But Star Trek has been doing it.
Would you have enjoyed that if they had deepfaked Han instead?
I would want to say at this particular moment in time and history, I would say probably. More so because for me, I was not too thrilled with the performance that the actor gave as Han Solo. So I think anything for me, anything would have been an improvement. Obviously, back then the technology wasn't up to par, and it still isn't even post. The last Indiana Jones movie. It was pretty good, but there's you got to watch that Unification movie. I'll send you the link, and it's
absolutely.
just it's an incredible thing to be able to see. All right, let's say hello to the chat. We've got Skywalker's Academy in there. Star Wars Steve, thank you for coming by. The Science Fiction Area, our Red 5 Network pal Andrew. Red 5 Tavern, looks like that's probably you. Skywalker's Academy,
sure is.
Let's see. But yes, talking a little Star Trek. We are an equal opportunity nerd channel. JT, what's happening? Yes, he noticed that we are also talking Trek. But
I was talking to my wife tonight, and we got to get back to, because I know you get on a lot of other shows as well, talk about other franchises and stuff like that. But I think we need to get back to talking about some more franchises here on the Scuttlebutt as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I already talked to Charles, and he's Pat and Charles are gung ho to talk about Star Trek as well. Pat doesn't like Star Trek that much, so I told Charles to invite him on and then not tell him what we're going to talk about.
Oh, there you
go. Last week we gave the Skeleton Crew, the first 2 episodes, a pretty good rating. And I know you've been enjoying the show. I've been enjoying the show. It's obviously, you know, a lot different than The Acolyte, but going into this 3rd episode, real fast, I wanted to get your quick take. We'll go into it in more detail, but what was your quick take after watching it?
Well, I think the 1-sentence review I gave you was finally some Star Wars content I can actually enjoy. And you know, and the vibe I'm getting from it is it's on one side not taking itself too seriously, and it's also, you know, it has the right amount of reverence to the franchise at the same time. And you know, not taking itself too seriously, I don't say that as a bad thing. You know, Star Wars never should have taken itself too seriously. You know, just and I think that's the feeling it's given. Like it's lighthearted, but with a good story.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on the comment of not taking too seriously, because again, like for me, I love when Star Wars is taken seriously, but at least from the perspective of the authors, the writers, the directors.
I mean, you know, the as far as the storyline goes, kind of like the storyline and the dialogue. You know, I think, you know, Acolyte tried way too hard as far as that stuff goes, and they failed miserably at it. You know, just this one's a little more lighthearted and quirky, and I think it works.
Yeah, I think it definitely works. I think it plays on our childlike, you know, characteristics. You know, we obviously, as kids, when we watched Star Wars, you know, we dreamt about the stars and going on adventures and stuff like that. I mean, this is kind of the epitome of that. Even to say that, you know, a lot of these characters are definitely, you know, characters that we can relate to on both sides of the spectrum. I love you know, I mentioned it last week. I love the dynamic between the boys and the girls. You know, later on, I'm sure, you know, as the episodes and the story continues, that we will find, you know, a deeper connection with these characters. And I think for me, you know, one of the things that really, really surprised me was how much I latched on to the kids. And I didn't think I would. You know, obviously I went in there, you know, thinking that this was going to be kind of like a bubblegum, you know, happy-go-lucky kind of little adventure, you know, similar to what they were billing this as, the Space Goonies. But I found something deeper in the characters of the kids, which really surprised me.
Yeah, and you know, this one has mysteries built into it too, but unlike the Acolyte, like they haven't already been solved. Like I feel like the Acolyte, it was already solved like episode 1 or maybe 2. This one has more mysteries in it, and I'm still looking forward to seeing what, you know, how is this planet so secluded from the rest of the universe? And of course, I asked Amy today, you know, or we were talking about AT-AT, and she was like, "Is that where AT-ATs are from?" I said, "No, I don't think so." But
she nailed it. She nailed it. Yeah.
So we might have to, you know, publicize that a little bit, give them some posters. Home of the AT-AT.
Sure. Star Wars Steve mentions in the chat, it makes me feel like that kid I was in the late 70s again. There's something magical about this, and it's kind of special. You know, I agree. I think a lot of people that are I don't know, trying to find something to hate about it, maybe lost their inner child. But I do feel like, and you know, we had an episode a while ago that posed the question, you know, as Star Wars fans, should we lower our expectations when it comes to the franchise? I don't think that this is the case. I don't think that we are all collectively lowering our expectations, and that's why we are enjoying Skeleton Crew.
I'm completely confused that I'm liking this show. I mean,
Okay.
I said I was going to try to lower my standards. Of course, we can't. You know, we both said, I think at the end of that episode, we can't lower our standards. And I fully expected to not like anywhere between not like and hate this show, based off the trailers that we saw and everything. I had no hopes for this show whatsoever. So I'm just completely dumbfounded that I'm enjoying as much as I am.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I never go into a new Star Wars show thinking that I'm going to hate it. Obviously, cautiously optimistic, as they say. And I mean, I was super excited about the Acolyte.
Yeah.
One of the things that really doesn't surprise me, but one of the things that I am really enjoying, and I'm seeing the difference, and obviously we're comparing this to some of the aspects of the Acolyte because that was the last show that was on, but the fact that that it doesn't seem like Skeleton Crew, we're not waiting until episode 7 to get another flashback to answer some questions, and I think for the Acolyte, I think those are some of the major points for me that made it fail as a series. We're waiting for answers to be dropped, and there are no answers. It's and I know certain shows, sometimes answers are interpretive, but I think for this in particular, I mean, they're doing a pretty damn good job of pacing the questions along with the answers and getting some answers which is logical in universe, because these characters are also wondering about these things, especially later on in this episode when we get to the owl character and the fact that these kids don't know certain aspects of the galaxy, which I find it fascinating. You talked about mysteries that are still kind of unfolding, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm really enjoying this show.
So I would say the only issue, and it's a very small issue, and it may explain itself, and I think it will as we figure out the origin or the backstory of their planet. We'll talk about it, but I like how they somehow completely missed that there was a galactic civil war,
right?
But at the same time, they know all about the Jedi and Sith. So I thought that was kind of weird. If they are so secluded or they're off the grid, they know some things, but they don't know other things. But again, I'm willing to, submit that that mystery will uncover itself as well. I don't think that's a lapse in writing. I think that will make sense once we figure this out.
Yeah, and Science Fictionary mentions that the mystery in the show is pretty straightforward. We aren't adding new mystery boxes weekly without ever giving anything of a satisfactory answer. And I think that's what was lacking in the Acolyte. We had all this mystery and really none of it was solved, or we had to wait weeks before it was solved. And by then, obviously we know what the Acolyte numbers were. By then, nobody was watching because nobody cared.
As you said, I care more about these kids than any of the characters in that show at all.
Yeah. Let's get to Star Wars. Steve has a comment here. The owl creature I mentioned, the creature design and the puppetry.
Jim, yeah.
I took a look at the first appearance of that character, and I was blown away a little bit. I thought it was really well done. Obviously, I was puzzled as to was it CGI? Was it a puppet? I mean, we can say the same thing about Neil too, because I've seen the behind the scenes of the kid actor wearing the headgear that maps your face. And there is a behind the scenes on Disney Plus that talks about the making of some of the effects. And I think it's I think, where the Acolyte spent $180 million for the whole series, as reported by other channels, this does seem like whatever budget this series has, it's money well spent.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the look and feel of Star Wars, and that adventurousness of Star Wars. Yeah. Whatever the budget was, definitely better well spent on this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think it was a 180 either, if I had to guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're getting how many episodes of this? 6 or 8? 8.
I'm hoping it's 8.
Yeah, I think it's 8. So, next week we'll be at the halfway point, but I think, it's a good halfway point because I think we've gotten a lot already. We've got a lot of questions answered and maybe not answered, but confirmed, I guess. This third episode, what is the name of it? The titles are a little weird, but it's
Interesting from an astronavigation standpoint or something like that.
right, very interesting as an astrogation problem.
Yeah.
Which okay.
Yeah. So Kim actually says that line in the show.
Yeah.
She actually says that. When at the beginning when he says I'm going to see an old friend of mine. You know the first name that popped in my mind that I kind of hoped it was. I was kind of hoping for some Maz Kanata.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean,
she was a pirate,
right?
So I thought that would have been cool.
That would have been interesting too. Yes, but it's one of those things in Star Wars that gets repeated. Those little tropes. I was thinking, obviously, when Han Solo told Leia that they're going to go visit an old friend, don't trust him. Jod says the same thing about the owl about Kim. So it's they're kind of repeating these things too, which for the most part I don't mind. I think if it gets too repetitive, it'll start to annoy me. What I talk about cinematics and wide shots a lot because of my background and my preference in visual media. But one of the things that I was really missing in Star Wars, I'm not sure if the Obi-Wan Kenobi show had as many. The Book of Boba Fett obviously didn't have as many because it really looked like it was shot in a warehouse. There was not a lot of wide shots and establishing shots in some of those shows that I just mentioned, but this episode really does start with a really wide shot of the town, of the city, downtown area, I guess, and then it starts to kind of narrow down, and then it gets to a wide shot of the neighborhood. And this is the beginning of the episode where we see the parents are all worried about the kids sitting in Fern's parents' living room, waiting for the droids to figure out what they have found. But one thing, the Win or Whim, what's his name? The kid, Whim, or is it Win? Win. His dad seems like he knows a little more than I think he is letting on. What do you think of his character?
I think it's we keep mentioning the Goonies, and it's kind of like the parents on the Goonies or any of those 80s movies where the kids go off on these crazy adventures and the parents are just back home, wearing their butts off. I don't know. I don't take that side of the show too seriously, but I think it adds to the story just fine.
Yeah. So I mentioned that the parents are sitting on the couch and stuff like that. There was a lot of controversy on Twitter and online regarding this scene, and I wanted to ask you about it.
What?
Another character wearing glasses.
Oh my God.
I mean, glasses in Star Wars again.
Everyone in Star Wars universe has perfect vision.
I don't know, but a lot of controversy there. Again, it started with Wilford Brimley in the Ewok movies, and now everybody's wearing glasses.
Tech wears goggles in Bad Batch. What? That's what people. Okay, if that's what people are arguing about, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, no, I was tongue in cheek. There was some other aspect of that scene that people were up in arms about, but
yeah, that'll be fine.
Let me ask you this, because it does seem like this society on this planet. Obviously, we talked about how they are pretty closed in.
And 1980, almost 1984-ish.
Yes. They seem to be controlled by the droids. There's a lot of droid presence. What do you think of that? And then obviously Fern's mom is requesting a meeting with the supervisor. Do we think the supervisor is human or droid?
I don't
And
know.
what do you think of that the society and how it's kind of relegated to droid rule?
We've mentioned Stephen Kent, our friend Stephen Kent, a few times on the show, and he posted something I thought was pretty funny. They talk about the great work. He's like, that's like the most communist thing they've said on Star Wars in a while. The great work. So we have yet to see what that is. I think people are saying that was a reference back to the High Republic and that great work that they were doing with that.
Yeah.
With that space station or whatever that was.
Sure.
But I don't. It is very awkward. Looks like a Skynet sort of planet, and the droids have taken over. And the fact that everybody wants to be an analyst is very strange. So this great work has to be something technological in nature, I would think.
So because they're segregated, we talked about I was on another show, Tatooine, and they were we mentioned the great works, and I had asked somebody, anybody in the chat, if they were more of a High Republic expert than we were. But so in the High Republic, it's referred to as great works, plural. And in here, it's the great work. So
Okay.
I'm thinking that not only are they segregated,
Well, they got down to one job. They everything else they took care of already.
right. But I'm
So they
thinking
got
that
one work left.
they have been so segregated even from the past that they are unfamiliar with the Galactic Civil War. They are unfamiliar with Order 66. They might be unfamiliar with the rest of the great works, as it were, in their neck of the woods, in their galaxy, that they've only really started on one great work, and that's why it's singular, not plural.
I mean, I don't know. It could have started off as one of those. A lot of the High Republic was about those outposts that they were doing everywhere. So this could have been one of those outposts that they just kind of forgot about.
Yeah. But there's and do you feel that the Great Barrier that separates this planet from the rest of the galaxy, do you feel that's natural, or do you feel that's artificial?
No, I think it's artificial. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess it could be natural, but it seems like they got some kind of Kim mentioned the very interesting from a astronavigational standpoint. So I mean, there's a lot of anomalies like that in our universe and in the Star Wars universe. So it could be some kind of natural barrier. But to me, it almost seems like they got some kind of jamming field, cloaking field sort of thing up to keep them away from the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we transfer from the living room to the prison breakout scene. Last week, Jod used the Force. I'll put that in quotes. Somebody in the chat asked if it's Talking Star Wars. What's up, Talking Star Wars? Asked if we can trust Jude Law's character. First of all, do you think he is a Jedi or Force sensitive even?
I mean, we saw multiple displays. If he's doing party tricks of some other nature, I don't know how he's doing it. He
Magnets,
displayed and
string,
a couple other. Yeah, I mean, he created distractions for the guards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If those are party tricks, he's doing it some other way. But like you said, I think he's definitely more real than the fake Jedi in the Obi-Wan series. I think he probably was Force sensitive, to some degree.
Do you think that goes against I guess the narrative of the time? Like, if anybody is Force sensitive, wouldn't somebody? No, because this is during the Mando era, right?
So this is Mando. He's I mean, he would have been born somewhere right around Order 66 time frame, depending on how old the character is.
Right.
So and if he was a pirate, he's, I don't know, he's not part of any, system or government or whatever. So he could have just fallen through the cracks. But
yeah,
I think he just chose to use his Force powers as a pirate than anything else.
And I was thinking, which I think I'm wrong. I was thinking that if he's using the Force, then somebody of the dark nature might sense it and then go after him like an Inquisitor. But I think at this point, There are none of those type of people, and people
Well,
are
he
just
turns out to be a Knight of Ren after all this.
no.
So
Okay. All right. Are there any obviously we haven't really met anyone new besides Kim, but it's
who do you think
it's
was on
just
the other line? Who do you think was on the other line when she was talking?
when she was talking to report them?
Yeah.
Maybe it was
Well,
Carson Teva, because the X-Wings were a part of the what's the X-Wing fighter group in that era? They were going to make a show with what's her
Rogue
face?
Squadron?
No. Somebody in the
Oh,
chat. Help me
Alphabet
out.
Squadron?
No.
No, I don't know.
Gina Carano was going to be in the show, the something of the High Republic or the fighters of the,
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
but I think they Carson Teva is one of them, but I think he might be on the other end of that phone call that he called. One of the things that I noticed when they were in Kim's little office area there, when she came out that the map and rolled it out on the table. I know somebody translated all the. Oh, thank you. Rangers of the new. Yeah. Thank you.
That's delightfully generic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she was a jump ranger or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But I was saying that I noticed in the map, and I'm sure somebody has already translated the map that was rolled out in Kim's place. There were 9 planets. And I had asked the chat in the other show, 9 planets. Does that seem familiar to us terrestrial people in this
Well,
galaxy?
we've only got 8, so
you're one of those.
Rip Pluto.
Rip Pluto. But yeah, I mean, how
unless
would you feel?
Addin is the 9th now.
The 9th
We're back
planet.
up to 9.
Yeah. But really, how would you feel, just hypothetically, how would you feel if somehow they started to introduce the fact that the Star Wars galaxy universe, whatever you want to call it, is part of ours, and then somehow we get, a connection between Earth and a galaxy far, far away?
What you just said, it's a galaxy far, far away. A galaxy far, far away is way the hell far away. Like, you can't even calculate how far that is away from us. So no, I'd rather keep them separate.
Yeah, I would too. It obviously it ruins the mystery. It ruins the fantasy of it all.
Did you know they named the planet Pluto and the dog Pluto in the same year?
I did not know that. Is that factual?
Yeah.
Wow.
Walt Disney named Pluto the same year that they named Pluto the planet.
That's
why they said you can
quite impressive.
Yeah, people can't remember all the other planet names, but they can always remember Pluto because of the dog.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So I'm glad that they went back for the droid. He didn't have to go back to the droid.
Watching. If Smee's not on there, I'm not watching it anymore.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. But.
And let's see.
I like I like how he stands up to flex. He kind of walks a little, crouched, with his knees bent. But then when he's arguing with Jude Law, he stands up to his full height. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a really good dynamic between Jude Law's character and the droid. I think. And did you catch some of the Easter eggs when he went looking for the droid? Did you catch the droid from episode 1?
Which droid from episode 1?
The battle droid.
When
he was activating all the droids,
the
and he goes,
B1
"Did we win?"
Droid.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple. I think if you rewatch that, I think there was a because what was the one droid? The one droid was referring to something like.
Oh yeah, he was referring.
The Prince.
Yeah, and there's an EU story, and I forgot who the prince was though. But they referenced the prince, and it's an old expanded universe story. And I think the story has to do with a prince on Corellia.
Okay.
but somebody can research that in the chat and let us know. But yeah. What are your thoughts on the music? I still there's a couple of
Is that a Prince Shizor reference?
no.
That's what's
No, the white droid is a direct pull from one of the expanded universe stories, and there's a picture of him and the supposed prince on the cover of the book, but it's not Prince Shizor. Yeah,
that would be cool though.
Yeah. I mean, we know he's around,
Yeah.
but I don't think it would make sense at this juncture. I really enjoyed Jude Law in this episode. We only got a split second of him in the last episode, but he really he's really nailing this this look and feel of a space pirate, someone who you think you can trust but not really. Obviously the relationship's too new year, but yes, absolutely. Tim asks, is this show worth watching? And I would say absolutely.
Yeah.
And so would everybody in our chat.
And my sons are coming for Christmas, and I can't wait to watch the show with them too.
Yeah. Unless you're offended by people wearing glasses in Star Wars, then don't watch it. Or having zippers or space fasteners.
And you talk about the characters. I love I'm not sure her name, the girl who's fashioned herself captain. I like how she's flexing on. Yeah. I like how she's flexing on Jude Law. She's like, I'm the captain. She's like, you work for us.
Yeah, I think she's flexing. She's badass, but there's we're going to learn later on that there's going to be a vulnerability with her, but I think that's what's going to make her character even more enjoyable and relatable. It's again, obviously we talk about Star Wars and found family, but I think this is going to be another one of those stories where, obviously they go on adventures and they they connect on certain levels.
Hey, and I just realized maybe that first episode was foreshadowing. Maybe they do finally come across the Jedi Temple. Maybe
that would be interesting.
That'd be cool.
So that's the question I had for some folks. Do you feel like, so this series was only slated to be one season? Obviously numbers talk, and if there's enough clamor and popularity, I'm sure they'll be back. But getting back to the fact that it may be only one season, do you feel like this series will contribute anything of value to the lore as a whole? Do you think will we get a Darth Plagueis moment at the end, or what do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's just a good standalone show. It'd be impressive if it did, but I think it's just a good standalone show, which is fine.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think I'm hoping that we don't know besides Andor season 2. Not sure what else is in the pipeline for Star Wars. Especially on the small screen. I know we're getting Visions season 3, but as far as like live action shows, I'm not sure what we're getting.
Jedi Academy? Is that the Skywalker Academy thing? Wasn't that supposed to be a thing?
I don't know. There's like 27 things that were supposed to be a thing, but they canceled 24 of them. So who knows? Yeah.
What do you think about the pacing so far on this show? Do you like the pacing?
Again, after the Acolyte, anything is better than the pacing on the Acolyte. Yeah. But I think, I don't know. I think.
I feel like Acolyte's like Last Jedi. Let's not use that as a litmus for anything.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, the directors that they have lined up for this series, I mean, they're seasoned directors. And I'm not sure what other things Leslie Headland has done other than that one series that was I forgot the name of it. It's not really important, but take a look at the list of directors in Skeleton Crew.
I know. I think you said in the past you had some issues with Bryce Dallas Howard, but I think she's going to do really well with this show.
All right, we'll see. I mean, Danny has expressed her insight regarding some inside information that she has based on the relationships that she has made
through her inside information.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, as far as, you know, a standalone show, I think people will definitely be surprised. It's going to be one of those things, you know, we've got some folks in the chat asking, is this show worth it? Should I watch it? And I think a lot of people are asking themselves that question. And
I think this is binge worthy. Once we get done,
yeah,
I think this will be a binge worthy show.
yeah, probably even more so than a lot of the other shows. And, you know, as much as I love Andor, I have, you know, I've tried to rewatch the series again, but I have not completed that. But I think this is one of those shows, you know, that or the third episode reminded me of being on a Disney ride.
I told you this is all just to make another Disney ride.
Yeah. I mean, there was so much kinetic energy from beginning to end. There's so much there that gave you that feeling. And again, the pacing is just perfect. The story moves rather quickly. It's not confusing. It doesn't insult the audience by hiding things in a mystery box, as mentioned. And I think that is going to be one of the reasons that people will rediscover this show, and like you said, maybe binge watch it once the entire thing is over with. It's definitely one of those shows where you can just really sit down with your kids and pop, box of popcorn or a broken Darth Vader bucket of popcorn like you had last week, and really enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm not. It's almost kind of hard to tell why this show works so well, but it just does.
JT, save yourself the trouble.
Yeah.
In short, we were really excited about The Acolyte because it was dark and gloomy, that's how we like our dark side stories, but it didn't hit the mark at all.
It's neither dark nor gloomy. He was just dumb.
Basically. Yeah. So if anybody in the chat has any questions regarding this episode in particular, but let's zoom past and then
let's not call it a mystery thriller, please. We love you talking Star Wars, but I mean, that's what it's. Maybe it was billeted.
That's what they tried. That's what they tried.
Billeted as a mystery thriller.
But the mystery was solved in the first 12 minutes of the first episode.
She's got an evil twin.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Ridiculous. So Jude Law's favorite character in Star Wars is Han Solo, according to him. One of the interviews that he made. And then I noticed that when he changed his clothes from the prison garb to the pirate, I guess, on the ship, his pants had blood stripes, which obviously is hearkening back to our favorite Corellian pirate, Han Solo. And I think that's pretty cool. It must have been pretty exciting for him to put on his pants and see the blood stripes.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be the same type of character. I think, Han Solo was a reluctant hero. He wasn't an anti-hero, but he was just a very reluctant hero. And I think that's what we're going to see with Jude Law as well.
Yeah. I mean, this episode for sure, you can start to see Jude Law almost as a father figure to the kids.
Yeah. I mean, he went back for the droid.
Right.
He didn't have to, but he went back and got him out.
Yeah. The first two episodes, I don't think we saw a lot of things for KB to do, but this episode, she really shines and she gets to do some things which are really, really great. When
it's kind of creepy later, when they were all sleeping and you have no idea whether or not she's sleeping or not.
Right. Yeah. But she again. Oh, one of the things that I find funny, and again, just very surprised at the fact that I really clung to Neil, the little elephant character. They gave him some really funny lines. And I think one of the lines where when they land on the moon, they land and then there's a shot of them walking on the surface of this moon. And Neil is way in the back and he goes, why didn't we just park the ship closer? And that is one of the lines that I had during Rogue One when Krennic and the Dark Troopers landed like way over there and then had to walk all that time to
It's the same thing. It's like that's a Star Wars thing. You know, Episode 1, Tatooine, they parked that
Right.
thing in the middle of the desert to walk to the town.
Yeah. So it's kind of a funny little like tongue-in-cheek thing that Neil is kind of answering the questions, or at least asking the same questions that we are as fans. And I think
Yeah, the Krennic one made no sense. I can sort of buy the Episode 1 answer.
Right.
You don't want to get your ship stolen while you're there, but
right.
there's no reason for Krennic to park out in the field like that.
Yeah. But I really love that everybody has the Star Wars Ring camera devices, from Jabba the Hutt's door. So those are always cool to see.
I like that. Looking at the chat, that people actually have favorite characters.
Yeah.
I didn't have. I mean, I'm with science fiction. I'm with Andrew there. Like, Smee's by far my favorite character. I think if there's a toy for that, or they make one, I will be the first to buy it. I think it's an awesome design for that droid.
Yeah. And the fact that they put a little mouse in his eye.
Yeah.
Pretty
the toy
inventive.
better have the mouse, in the eye.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Combining that pirate theme with Star Wars droids, fantastic.
I think so too. Well, besides him, do you have another favorite character in the first 3 episodes?
You said her name was Fern. I mean, she's pretty cool. I mean, obviously Jude Law. I mean, he's always. I've told you I've loved his acting for a long time. Mm-hmm. But as far as the kids go, I'd say Fern.
And it's funny. I wonder what it took so long to get Jude Law in a Star Wars.
I don't know.
But this is pretty.
See him as a dark side. Would have loved to have seen him as a dark side character. I think it would have been a fantastic Sith.
Yeah. What do you think of? I'm going to ask you a nerdy technical question. What do you think of the production design, the scene, the set dressings, the way the camera moves, the shots, the depth of the stuff that's in the frame and the background versus the foreground? I know. Again, the Book of Boba Fett. Again, a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to the volume when they're shooting on that the stagecraft. But I think this show really has a nice balance of not making everything look like it was shot in a warehouse. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the work that they're doing, I think it really sets the tone of whatever scene it is. I mean, like when you get to the home planet, you can see that's very sterile. Mm-hmm. And the camera work and everything leans into that. But when you get to the pirate hideout space station, it's very busy in those scenes, but with purpose. I think we all love the old planets like Nar Shaddaa and stuff like that, and that's the feeling I get on the pirate space station there. It feels like Nar Shaddaa or Ord Mantell, one of those planets. Yeah. And I think they did a really great job on that.
Yes, sirree. And again, I was very impressed with
even
Kim.
with the moon. The moon looked like a moon. Where they go to Kim's place. It felt like a desolate moon outpost. I thought they did a great job.
Somebody complained that they should have had spacesuits to be able to breathe on the moon when they're walking on it, but
I mean, you have to assume in something like Star Wars that they check the atmosphere before they open they open the hatch to the ship.
Yeah, we can talk about that sort of thing on our Star Trek show.
Yeah, do they make mention of that though on Star Trek though, right?
Yeah, they always checking
the atmosphere. Yeah.
Again, there are certain little tidbits of information that Kim drops during this meeting towards the end of this episode regarding, somebody mentions Alderaan. One of the kids mentions Alderaan, and people are like, awkward. You missed the Galactic Civil War and stuff like that. I think that's kind of fascinating as a storyline. I'm really interested and intrigued as to, one, why this planet is hidden, two, what's going on with whoever it is that is responsible for hiding it. I mentioned early on, I mentioned the movie The Village, and I feel like this is kind of similar, where there's one of the humans, there is a team somewhere that is not droid that knows what's going on and is responsible for at least guiding the droids or making sure that the humans don't ask certain
And there's
questions.
a reason why they've gotten everybody to want to be analysts. They're crunching numbers for something on that planet. But you know, as far as mysteries goes, this is how you do a mystery. You just drop little lines. Mysteries are best done subtle, and dropping little lines like what war. That's the way to do a mystery. Not make this huge big show out of it. That kills a mystery. They're doing a much better job this time.
I want to put this comment up that Science Fictionary just wrote because I find it intriguing. Skeleton Crew is setting a new standard for the way Star Wars should look on the small screen.
I agree.
That to me is fascinating.
Starting from the opening scenes where they did the hull breach in the first episode. I think this is what I agree. This is what a Star Wars show should look like.
And it's interesting to me because I know there's a lot of hate online for anything new, anything Star Wars new, really. And obviously there are people that are nitpicking a lot of stuff, making excuses not to like it. So I think because of that comment, I find it intriguing.
You know, we've talked about what stories do we tell now in the Star Wars universe. You know, we don't have to stick to the Skywalkers. You know, I think this is showing that you can just play in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And it can be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they could have set this in any time period.
Yeah.
Prequel, original, or sequel trilogy. It would have been a fun story.
But I think that's what, to the credit of the story writers overall, I think that's what makes it intriguing. Nick asks, what if the droids were set up by someone who died thousands of years ago? And that could very well be.
They just never got the memo.
They never got the memo, you know?
I'll buy it.
Talking Star Wars asks, do you think we will get any legacy character cameos or name drops?
I hope not, unless it lends itself to the story.
Yeah, and I do remember reading that one of the directors said regarding that question in particular that we're not going to be seeing any, mind-blowing cameos or
I just thought Maz Kanata would have really worked in this one.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, there are elements of the sequel trilogy I liked, and Maz Kanata was one of them.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, because there's pirates in there, I know a lot of people are asking for Hondo to make an appearance finally in live action.
Always asking for Hondo.
Yeah, but I think that would fit too.
They would. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that guy's like a cockroach, man. You just can't kill that guy.
You can't kill that guy, no. I like that they were trying to figure out where Atten was and going through the database and by process of elimination, and they get to some information about where the planet is. Again, getting down to the nitty-gritty and not extending that mystery for 3 or 4 episodes before getting an answer. And I think that was well done.
That's some pretty fast Googling she did there.
Yes. Yeah. Space Google. But again, I think kudos to Jude Law. I mean, they really made a great pairing between Jude Law and the Owl.
Yeah.
It's just,
I thought, we've talked about visuals. I thought the sound was great on this one. I love the sound of his gun when he shot his blaster. That was pretty good.
Yeah. And again, texture when it comes to that scene, the exterior of it seems like it's revolving. So it's almost like, that room is in a circular revolving, arena or something, like a room. Really well done. You've got all the data banks and on the floor in the foreground. But like Andrew says, I mean, this show like looks really, really good. There's so much detail in some of these shots that it really does lend itself to movie-like, quality. You take a look at some of these wide shots and you really, ask yourself, you can probably spend a good 10-15 minutes picking apart like every little thing in the scene. There are flags, there are devices, there are signs and like banners that are hanging in this room, which may or may not lend themselves to actually accessing more information about the I don't know, the nature of this character.
Yeah. So here's a question for you: if we think that he might be force sensitive, are we going to see him wield a lightsaber before the show is up?
That would count as a almost a mind-blowing cameo, even if it's a prop or a device. I think that would be kind of amazing. But again, if they,
He
I don't
finds
know
Luke
if they,
Skywalker's hand with the lightsaber on it.
yeah, right.
Ooh.
The owl has it, and then that's where Maz Kanata comes in. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
Maz
see
got it from somebody.
Maz. You're gonna see Maz poking around in a cave for a minute.
Yeah, this creepy little Maz cameo.
But what did you think of seeing X-Wings back in the show?
Always room for X-Wings.
Yeah. And speaking of which, let's
Wasn't always X-Wings though. Why? I mean, let's throw some Y-Wings or some A-Wings in there from time to time.
Right. I mean, the Y-Wings, I think at this point are ancient.
They were ancient in the
They were ancient in the original trilogy, right?
Old reliable though, man.
Yeah, yeah. Let's. I'm going to sidetrack. I know you are retired military, and
Thank God. Yes.
I just want to ask you a question. Why didn't you guys make those drones in TIE fighter shapes instead of airplane shapes? What's up with that?
Give them time.
Give them time. All right.
Speaking of the military, though, go Navy, beat Army. Good. Kudos to the Navy team today for beating Army, kicking the crap out of them.
I don't know what that means.
It's foosball. It's
foosball.
Well, you're in Chicago, so you have good reason not to pay attention to football. Or hockey. Yeah.
But everybody's saying that the X-Wings look pretty good. And Andrew agrees with your B-Wing comment. I think
B-Wings are an acquired taste. I love B-Wings, but
they're
not everybody's cup of tea.
Sure.
I'm a Y-Wing kind of guy myself.
What I know I tweeted a while ago that Star Wars does droids really well. We obviously talked about some of our favorite droids and favorite droid in this series. What do you think?
I'm going to interrupt you completely.
Yeah.
Here's a question for the chat without looking. Well, it's just true, Steve, that Chicago's hurting for sports right now. All right. A question for the chat. Which species made the B-Wing?
Oh,
all right, go ahead with your question. What were you saying?
I wanted to ask you, speaking of ships, the ship that the kids came on, and blasted off. We talked about this last week. It was upside down, buried in the forbidden zone, as the droid said. But the Onyx Cinder, what do you think of that ship design? And maybe they should have come up with new ships instead of the X-Wings. I think we're always eager to see new ship designs. But what do you think of the Onyx Cinder? Not only as its name, but the ship design. I think it's pretty cool.
I'd love the dog. I'm glad everybody's liking this show, so no one just calls us shills. I'd love to dog on this show for some reason or another, but I can't find too much. I think it's a cool ship. I think it's a cool name.
Yeah. Does Kim remind you of Count Dooku? Same cloak, same.
It's immediately what I thought when I saw the owl was Count Dooku. She's.
You're not messing with
Lord running the New Republic. Now that you say it, yeah. And JT is correct. It was Amon Calamari that made the B-wing. Hence why it's got that weird design.
Yeah. I love the B-wing. I got mine over here somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. But so that last line, the X-wing pilot lands and says, "Where are those? Where are they going?" And she turns around and says, "If I told you, you wouldn't believe me." So obviously, Kim understands the gravity of the situation. If indeed they do go back to Atten in the next episode, I don't know if they're going to go back to their home planet the next episode, or if they're going to extend the adventure. But I think based on the fact that they're kind of not extending the mystery boxes as we were mentioning it, I think they might go back. If they do go back to Atten next week, what is the rest of the episodes going to be? Are the pirates
I don't think they're going back. There's always something that's gonna, they're gonna have to get redirected for some reason or another.
Sure, yeah.
But we talked about adding to the Star Wars universe. Again, hopefully this is not a planet in our universe. I hope it stays in the Star Wars galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about adding to the bigger Star Wars story as a whole, then it might be that planet. Atten might be of some pretty major significance going forward.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it has just enough mystery and intrigue to keep us going, and Star Wars, I think at this point does need a little injection of something new and mysterious and fascinating. I know they tried to do it in the previous series with varying degrees of failure, but
minor to major failures.
This is good. So let's get to the rating. Season 1, episode 3, very interesting as an astrogation problem. Episode 3, what do you guys feel in the chat? How many space owls out of 10 would you give this episode?
And I gave my rating first last time, so this week it's your turn to go first.
Last week we gave both episodes an average like 7.5, right?
Yep.
I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm gonna rate it even higher. I'm gonna go to an 8.25. I enjoyed it probably more so, and I think one of the biggest reasons I enjoyed it because we see more Jude Law, we see a lot more, swashbuckling, adventuring. The characters of the kids really did, a lot in this episode. It was chock full of action, and I felt like while I was watching it, I felt like I needed to buckle up because it was really good. So yeah, Star Wars Steve is saying 9. 8 out of 10 space fasteners for science fictionary. It's pretty up there.
Yeah, and your rating was just 0.25. That I was going to go with an even 8, but as I'm sitting here thinking about it, like, I don't know what would have gotten it higher to a 9 or a 10. So I don't know why I'm arbitrarily giving it 8. I mean, it was a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If you start from 10 and work your way down, what was it missing from a 10? Honestly,
well, for me, it would be Anakin visiting the kids.
Oh, okay. That'd be a pretty quick 10. Show then.
Yeah. But hey, Cam Ray is in the chat. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, I don't know. It's about time Cam stopped by.
It is about
Thanks
time.
for stopping by at the end of the show, Cam.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
He's going to be back on the show. I recorded with him a couple of nights ago. We're doing a special Christmas show cafe with him. So check that out. And he does something special on the air that we'll share with you on the 25th. So thank you very much, Cam.
I'm going to go 9.
Wow, 9.
I'm just going to say, we always want room for improvement. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I was going to say 8, but I don't know. It wasn't lacking anything.
No, it wasn't. Not at all.
So I'm just going to give it a 9.
But I think Andrew has a good point. He's saying 8. So when something really blows his mind, that he's got some room to wiggle.
Sure. I mean, I guess that's my thinking. But as a show, like I don't know how much you want mind blowing in episode 3 out of 8, or however many we get.
Sure.
But as far as a Star Wars show goes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it a 9.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, we'll see what happens next week. I think we're on a roll here when it comes to the show. We're really enjoying it. And again, I'm very surprised at how much we are enjoying it, because I really went in thinking that, not only is it not geared to me specifically, but I may be wrong in that, because I think it's geared to the youth in us all. And it's done well. It's not, some folks are like, well, it's not insulting the lore of what came before, adding some new elements to the Star Wars galaxy as a whole. And I think I'm eagerly awaiting to see the conclusion of what this series will offer. And I hope people, more people find it for sure.
Yeah, I hope some people didn't too. I mean, we were very turned off by the time the Acolyte got finished. I hope nobody just decided to not watch it just because. I mean, I would have understood if they did, honestly, at this point. But I hope people have heard enough positive things where they check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, ask a friend what they think. And unless you're in a one of those, what are they called? Echo chambers.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Star Wars Steve has a quick little tidbit before we take off. Next episode, loads of Neil the directing and Phil frickin' Tippett and Tippett Studios. So it's going to be a lot of creatures, I guess. That's awesome.
I'm glad Phil Tippett's still working. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Excellent. Chat, you guys have been wonderful. Thank you very much for hanging out with us here on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast live edition. I'm going to drop the audio in the podcast feed. If you guys are not into YouTube and want to listen to it while you're running your errands, it'll be up there on Tuesday. So thank you very much for listening to and hanging out with us. Brad.
That's right. And remember, there's always timeshares on Scarif if you join the Empire.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. If you guys have anything to say, please tag us or send us an email at scarifscuttlebutt@gmail.com. Or we love to hear your voices. Give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 773-234-8659. This is your friendly neighborhood Ro from the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast and co-host Ho Ho Ho. That's the Scuttlebutt.